thank you for joining me. This is the first of a series that I am creating where I am designing a website. I'm using the Themify Ultra Professional theme. I did happen to go ahead and install a bunch of the plugins that I'll be using. So as you can see here, this is the back end, and I'm going to cover a couple of things here for you, but I don't want you to be freaked out by the back end. The sidebar on the left here, it fills up as you add plugins, and each one of those plugins takes you to a different aspect of the back end where you can manage that particular plugin. This particular feature is a plugin called Admin Pad, and you can create a note and save it so that it is there available every time you log back in. This item in the dashboard is a plugin that features links to my videos and other content on my site. If you're a member of IDWPH or have myself design your website for you, then this is a way for you to go in and get some information if you need to. Few of the last plugins that are located here are your broken link checker and your security and so forth, but to be honest, you don't really pay that much attention to the dashboard in the back end. Now we'll select plugins on the menu, and this is a list of all the plugins that I currently have installed on the site. Most of these plugins relate to Themify, like the builder add-ons and so forth, and you will be able to see how many of these work as we design the site, and I'll walk you through different steps, step by step. So let's take a look at our theme, which is located here under Themify Child. Very simple. It's got things on it I don't want, such as the sidebar. The footer looks very boring. The header, it's just got pages up there. So these are all small things that we need to fix. We're going to go into the pages, and as you can see, here's the site map. Okay, just follow what I did there. I like having the sidebar, so I have to go over and use the buttons on the right and tell it to go to turn off the full screen feature. So as you can see here above the title, this is the permalink that it has created, and I want to change the permalink, so I'm changing the name of it to HTML sitemap, and then at the top I'll have to edit the permalink and change it to HTML sitemap as well. Now here I show you that on the sidebar is another place where you see the permalink, and so you can make changes to the permalink in that sidebar right there as well. Now I'm going to update the page. And I'm going to go into this sample page. This sample page is by default the home page on WordPress when you first create it. So I'm changing the name to Home. Permalink is already set to Home, which is directly to https LarryWhaley or lwhaley.com. That is the permalink for the home page. Now I'm going into the 404 page, and I'm just going to make a couple of changes to it as well, because I'm going to end up creating a custom 404 page. It'll probably be the last thing I do on the site, but needless to say, it's something that I'm going to want to do. Okay, now I'm adding an About page, and the permalink will automatically be About if I just name it About, and I publish it. And as you can see, the permalink is About. Now if I would have named it About Us, then it would have been permalink About -us. But you can always change the permalink after you create the page. Let's add another new page, and this time I'm going to create the page from my blog post. I don't like to call it blogs. You can call it anything you like. I generally go with articles, but you could use something unique if you would like. Now the privacy policy page, that's going to come later in the design process. We're not going to even mess with that right now. Now I'm going to my settings, and here is where you would change any critical information under the general settings. If it's HTTPS, you want it to say HTTPS, so forth. You want to make any changes, and you also have your links. This is where you'll also put the administrator email address. Now, word of warning, if you change the administrator email address, then you will have to follow through with a verification from the email. Now, the anyone can register link may be selected if you have a membership site that is going to have registration. Membership site of any kind where you want people to be able to register and so forth, you would select that. This site, underneath that you would have, after they register, what membership do they become, and you would select it from this drop down box. Okay, now we're going to move to the writing area. Now here at the top you'll see the default post category, and that is important and we will use it, but unfortunately we haven't created any categories yet. So this is something just to remember. It's under the writing area, and we will come back to this. Now the second area, we don't really need to worry about this because our theme is going to take care of it for us. And the last part right here, I never worry about that. That's for if you want to post outside. Now this is the most important part, is the reading area. In the reading area you need to set your home page as a static home page and then link it to your home page that you created earlier. And then for your blog post, link that to a page that you created for your blogs, which in my case I used articles. Now, I always set it to summary and 10 and whatever. It doesn't really matter because the theme is going to control most of this. This is a lot of default WordPress for themes that don't have this functionality built in. Oh, and always make sure to click Save Changes at the bottom if you make any changes on a page. Now the next area is the discussion settings, and to be honest with you, everybody sets it up a little bit different, but there's a couple of things that I do not like. I do not like pingbacks and I do not like trackbacks. So I suggest you disable the second box that reads allow link notifications from other blogs, pingbacks and trackbacks on new post. Disable that. I also disable the first one. I do allow people to submit comments on new posts, and the rest of it I will pretty much say use your own discretion on how you'd like to set it up, and you can follow mine if you'd like. But for example, I don't have anyone can post a comment. But on this website, I believe I will turn that feature on, because the only one that'll be able to post comments on articles, since I'm not going to have anybody register, are people that are guests just viewing, which means that I have to turn on security and probably not have any new comments show until it has been moderated. These other two boxes at the bottom, for the most part, I use a plugin to handle this, but I do have a list, and I'll supply that in probably an article on my website, where a list of bad comments and things, that words that you can't use and so forth. And at the very bottom, it talks about avatars. I select it to display avatars. If you have a particular rating that you need to set your site at, here's where you would do it. And when I set it, I use Gravatar logo, but that's not always the best option. So a lot of times you'll need a plugin or a membership site that allows people to upload their personal avatars. Okay, now in the media area, for the most part, you can just leave it alone. You can make changes in your theme if you need to. You could also adjust them here. Now your permalinks, that is the important area. Now, if you notice here, I have already changed my custom post type to category post name, and you can set it up any way that you like, but by default it is set up on, I believe, numeric. So basically we're making our links pretty links by doing this, and you can set it up any way that you would like. Personally, I like category and then post name. All you have to do to create them is set the cursor in there and then click them, and they'll go in there in the order that you select them. And save your changes after you've finished. Next, we're going to go to the privacy settings. And if you notice, by default it's already set on the privacy page, and this does give you a link to help you if you need to create a privacy policy. Personally, I completely rewrite the whole thing. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to go to Appearance and then select Menus. Now, as you can see, there's not a menu created right now, so if you remember, when we looked at the home page, there were just a bunch of default settings. Well, we need to create a menu. I'm going to call it Main Menu, create it, and then I don't really have a whole lot of pages now, but as you can see over here, these are the different items that you can put in. And here's the top links that are currently showing on the page. So what I want to do is I want to add the front page, the articles page, and let's see, the about page. I don't need the sitemap page on there. And those are the only pages I have right now, so I'll add those. Rearrange them a little bit. And I need to set this as the main navigation at the bottom, and then save the menu. So this is the way that it should look on the home page now. Now I can insert some icons as well. One feature that Themify offers that is actually a really nice feature a lot of themes don't offer. Okay, and we're going to save this, and then we're going to look at the front page. As you can see, when I refresh, now I've got my new menu that I created with icons on them. Okay, let's go back into the Themify settings. Under the general options here, you'll see favicon at the top. The favicon is that little icon at the very top of the web browser when you go to a new page. Now when I go to the home page, when I refresh, you'll see the image change. Going to go over everything, but as you can see here, we have the custom feed URL. If you're using a service like FeedBurner or something of that nature, then you would put the link in here. You also have the header code, the footer code, search settings, your error 404 page. The layout section is a little bit more important. On my archive post page, I want a sidebar, and I could set up any type of grid layout that I like. I'm going to go with 3 wide, but as you can see, I have plenty of other options as well. Now my post content layout, that's something that I'm going to have to mess with a little bit later. I'm just getting the general settings done right now. So you can follow along. I do like this on excerpt, and I changed this to continue just because it's me. You can leave it on read more or whatever you'd like. Now I am going to let you follow along, but I'm going to speed the clip up to about twice as fast as what I actually did it. And then, so if you're following along, feel free to pause it at any time to make the same adjustments I make. Just remember, these are just initial adjustments, and we'll be coming back here to fix things later on. Okay, now we're going to go to the theme settings and kind of run through these. We do want a responsive design and so forth. So once again, I'm going to go through this and make any adjustments that I may need to make, and I'm going to speed up the time. So just, if you're following along, just pause it when you need to. This is the header design area, and you have a lot of different features and things that you can use within the header design. And if you're like me, I don't like page titles on the pages. I create them myself, so I always remove that kind of stuff. Sometimes I don't like having an external RSS link and things like that, so a lot of times I exclude that kind of stuff. I also exclude the search bar on the top quite a bit. Of course, that also depends on if it's a site that needs to be searched, then I may need that. So a lot of these options are 100% up to you, and they can always be changed by just coming back here and deselecting what you already have selected. Now at the footer text, if we take a look at the home page real quick, you will see that it says powered by WordPress, Themify WordPress themes, copyright L. Whaley 2020. So I'm going to make a couple of changes. Okay, I made a little mistake there. Let's go back and correct that. Also need to hide footer text too, but just for the fun of it, in fact, let's type that so I can show you. Okay, now the image script, you don't really need to worry about that. But let's move to the social links. Now this is pretty easy to set up. You put in your Twitter link, your Facebook link. You can add additional links if you need to, not just the default ones that they have here. And I will be setting some of this up at a later time, so we'll get to see it. Now your integration API, if you have Twitter, if you have Google Maps, or if you're using Bing Maps on your website, this is where you would set them. We also have the opt-in, which I use MailChimp, so I'll be putting in my MailChimp key here, but there's others available as well within the plugin. Themify Builder, pretty much it's enabled. Just leave it enabled. Your animation effects, now I do make some changes here because mobile and tablets don't work well with animation. It's too much stuff going on, so I normally disable it on mobile and tablet, almost all animations. They don't get to enjoy the experience that you get to enjoy on a PC. But needless to say, 90% of the time, maybe even higher than that, you're going to first be visited by, most likely, a mobile device of some kind. This is your builder modules. You could disable them if you wanted to. And this is your builder cache. Just leave it alone for right now, but you know where it is if you ever need to make an adjustment. And then you have your tools: find and replace, regenerate CSS. Sometimes you have to click that, but it's very rare. It's normally after a framework update. Now the last one here is your maintenance mode, and this is going to be one of the first things that we're going to design, is a maintenance page. So this is where we will enable it once we're finished, because right now our maintenance page is using a plugin which doesn't work on all devices all the time. Now your hook content, this is more for developers. As you can see, it shows you where the layouts are and everything, but without a little bit of HTML knowledge and so forth, you may not be using that, but you know it's there if you need to have something inserted in there. your role access. By default, I just leave it all at default. If you happen to want to give, let's say you create somebody as like an editor and you want to give them more permissions with the front end and the back end, then this is where you would come to make changes so that they have access to it. And this is if you want to create custom fonts, and there's ways to do that if you want to be able to do it, and they provide you the instructions. So, but for right now, what we're going to do is create a new maintenance page. That's our first step. This is currently what my maintenance page looks like, and it's supposed to have a picture, but on Google Chrome it does not show up. So in the next video, that is what we're going to focus on. Our first page is going to be a maintenance page. Thank you for watching, and hope to see you in the next video. And be sure and subscribe. Maybe hit that little bell. And we will see you soon. Have a great one.